Welcome, everyone. I'm your super intelligent, very handsome co host, DJR Stewart, and welcome to Black Men Speak.
And I'm your co-host, Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3. It is Wednesday night, September the 24th, 2025. And if it is Wednesday night,
Certainly, Black Men Speak. So let's give a shout out to Count Basie providing our theme music, to our own studio and Forest Films for subsidizing our virtual studio. And also, if you haven't already, hit that like button, the notification bell, and invite a friend. If you haven't, so that way you have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. A neighbor, co-worker, friend, family member, doesn't matter. But we need to get our live audience numbers up higher. We do pretty good on our recorded shows and our shorts, but our live audience is still pretty small. We're going to see if we can't change that by year end. That being said, Tom, I know we have a jam-packed show,
we do.
and um, and I have a surprise video that I'm going to introduce about halfway through the show. Um, and so, since we have so much to talk about, let's do what we do best, which is bring leading edge information about the Black community to social media. So let's get started.
All right, folks, want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. As Jimmy said, we have a jam-packed show and a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. So make sure that you focus and make sure you share this information to your family and your friends so they too can also be the most well-informed person within their network. So let's get this show started. We're going to start off with a very unfortunate condolence offering this evening for those of you who are football fans. You may know this guy, the former Cincinnati Bengals Pro Bowl running back Rudy Johnson. Became an ancestor on Tuesday, just yesterday, September the 23rd, at the age of 45. The Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office told NBC it is currently investigating Johnson's death, but no foul play is suspected. Johnson, a fourth-round selection by the Bengals in the 2001 NFL Draft, was a backup in his first two seasons. But in his third season in 2003, after starter Corey Dillon was injured, Rudy Johnson rushed for 957 yards and scored 9 touchdowns in just 215 attempts. From 2004 to 2006, Johnson averaged 1,407 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns, making his first and only Pro Bowl in 2004. In 2004, he rushed for 1,454 yards, a franchise record at the time. The next year, he broke that record by rushing for 1,458 yards, a record that still stands today. Johnson agent Peter Schaefer told NBC News that he hopes that Johnson's death will spur more research into CTE, a degenerative disease that has been a factor in the death of several other NFL players to date. Because CTE can only be diagnosed in an autopsy, it is not confirmed if Johnson did suffer from this condition. But we definitely want to offer our condolences to the Johnson family, to the NFL family, for those who knew him professionally and or personally, only being 45 years of age. Very, very sad story, but definitely wanted to report on that information, especially for those who are football fans and Cincinnati Bengal fans in particular. So we will give a brief moment of silence to Rudy Johnson and those who loved him. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get to some interesting news within the HBCU community. For those of you specifically in the Austin area, if you have not heard, Austin, Texas-based Houston Tillotson University, a historically black college, is celebrating its 150th anniversary this year. Matter of fact, I've gotten a card from them asking, of course, for donations since I've donated to them before. But they have also been awarded a $150 million gift from the Moody Foundation, a Galveston-based philanthropic organization. This gift is the most money ever donated to an HBCU in the United States. The gift will be used to upgrade campus buildings and to provide scholarships for students. This is also the largest financial gift the Moody Foundation has ever given. Last year, the Moody Foundation gave Houston Tillerson just under $1 million to install air conditionings in the gym and in classrooms. A large chunk of the money will go towards building new student housing. Houston Tillerson has more than 1,000 students, but only has two residence halls. And so as a result, many of their students are forced to actually reside at St. Edward's University, which is also in Austin, Texas, instead of the campus, because they quite frankly do not have the facilities. Early plans include building the new residence halls that will house up to 800 undergraduate and graduate students. Another large chunk of funding will go towards, of course, creating new student scholarships. The average cost, by the way, to attend HT is $25,000 a year. The Moody Foundation is committed to donating 1 billion, that's with a B, to improve education in Texas over the next 20 years. So congratulations, of course, to Houston Tillerson. I've been there several times. It is a relatively small campus, but definitely for those who are alumni of the university, this is definitely good news, and we definitely hope that this funding is put to.
Tom, it's very good news. What was wrong with this picture?
What's that?
I thought white people were our enemy. I thought they were racist, and yet they're coughing up hundreds of millions of dollars and committing $1 billion for education, improve education here in Texas.
Who said that white people are every white person is
No,
the enemy?
not every white people, Tom. Don't do
Well, you
the
just
all
said,
thing
you
again.
just
But
said white people are the enemy, not
I
every
just
white.
said white people. Yes, not all white people, obviously. Uh, Not the ones who writing a check for $150 million to
Obviously
HBCU.
not. So
Uh,
obviously these are not people who are the enemy.
huh?
So obviously these are not people who are the enemy. They wouldn't be writing
Okay.
checks.
Well, you know what, Tom? Between white people and Jewish people given to black schools, I don't think black schools have very much money. My problem here is that um, black folks who are alumni of this school and other HBCUs, who are over half the black graduates, uh, graduate graduates in America come from HBCUs. So
Correct.
I don't know why they struggle so much financially. And we know the answer is because the alumni doesn't give money back. You didn't even go to Houston Tilson, and you send them money. So which is a great thing. We should all do it to help out. But I know the graduates of HT should do a lot more than what they're doing, and I'll leave it up to some very generous white people and Jewish people to supply the funding and scholarships for black kids, mostly a black campus.
Well, maybe they are paying it back to what they may have gained over the years. And the reality of it is, even if we look at universities like Texas A&M University, even though they get a significant amount of money from their alumni, the largest portion of the alumni come from large corporations and or foundations that built that wealth, and then they built those foundations to give to philanthropic causes just like this. And so, again, I'm not saying that every alumni, just like every alumni of Texas A&M University doesn't give back, every alumni of HT does not give back, but
Oh, Tom, come
alumni
on!
of
I'm
everywhere,
sure.
but
I'm sure
alumni,
Texas A&M is not hurting for money in their
no, they're
endowment
not.
fund.
They're
If
not.
I was to look it up,
And one of
I'm
the
pretty
reasons
sure their endowment fund is in the billions.
And one of the reasons why Texas A&M and M and the University of Texas will never, ever, ever, ever be hurting for funds is, guess what? They get a bunch of money vis-a-vis the government
No, we were talking about the endowment fund,
and,
which is
and
come from
oil revenue.
alumni contributions.
Excuse
Uh,
me. The majority of the money is not from alumni contributions. But for instance, and you know this, Jimmy, Texas A&M and M and University of Texas get significant amounts of oil revenue every year. They will never run out of money. I don't care what happens.
yeah,
That
that's not going to
that
happen.
cannot that could not be compared to the individual contributions like people like you and me and our individual households compared to that money that they're getting from the government. It just cannot be compared.
Okay. What's our next story?
But
Anyway, congratulations to HT. So I hope the infusion of capital will help them expand and grow their campus.
absolutely.
I've been there a couple of times to speak. It's a nice little school, but if they don't have enough dormitory and housing time and some other facilities, and the fact that some of the money we use for scholarships, I think that'd be a good thing.
Absolutely,
What's our
absolutely.
next story?
Congratulations. Next, we have another donation that has been made. Guess to who? The United Negro College Fund. Billionaire philanthropist Mackenzie Scott. Yes, she is the former or the ex-wife of Scott Bezos, recently announced a donation of 70 million to the UNCF, the nation's largest private provider of scholarships to universities like HBCUs. The gift is one of Scott's largest single donations and among the first to be publicly disclosed in 2025. The donation will be used for UNCF's pooled endowment, which aims to establish a $370 million fund, 10 million dollars for each of the 37 UNCF member schools. The fund will be invested and designed to pay out 4% annually, which will then be divided among HBCUs to help stabilize their budgets. Increasing HBCU endowments is a priority since they, of course, trail endowments of non-HBCUs, or what we call PWIs, by about 70%, according to the UNCF. A broader $1 billion fundraising effort is attempted to help HBCUs address funding disparities that they face on a year-to-year basis. So definitely
Okay, once
congratulations.
again, Tom, what's wrong with this damn picture?
What do you mean?
$70 million investment, all you can get 4% return on your investment.
That is pretty small.
For that kind of capital, you should at least be 9, 10% with any really decent fund manager out there.
Well, this is probably a safe, low risk type of investment, Jimmy. I mean, even at my alma mater, Texas A&M University, that we all know is one of the largest, most well endowed public universities in the world. When you put money with the Texas A&M University and they invest it for you, they give you back 4%, no more than that. And I know that personally because I put money into endowments to help students at Texas A&M University, and that's
Yeah, but
all
when your 4% is talking, you're talking about 4% of billions of dollars. That's a significant amount of money for one school.
correct.
4% of 2.8 million to be split up among HBCUs is not going to end up being a lot of money, Tom.
You understand?
I
But
mean,
what
it's a pay raise for the president and the chancellor of these schools for the most part.
Right, you're correct, but obviously they are not going to put that money at risk, and they use obviously very conservative investment strategies to ensure that that principle is not lost. And so
Yeah,
again,
well,
it's not
we are
just
this far behind, Tom. I don't know if we can afford to be all that safe and conservative. It sounds like they're just a notch above bonds, municipal bonds for that matter.
yeah,
Okay,
you may be right, but it's not just the UNCF. It's schools like Texas A&M University. They do the same thing. 4%.
okay.
4%. So, all that being said, congratulations to the United Negro College Fund as well. So, of course, at the end of the day, we know that most of these HBCUs have been underfunded. It's not just because not every alumnus is contributing, but also they have been underfunded by the states. It's publicly known that a lot of funds that should have been going to HBCUs never
Well,
got
that's
there.
why you shouldn't let your vote go to waste, Tom. Let your voice be heard. So if you care about the HBCUs, let your legislator know.
Yeah.
Whoever represents you that you care about. This is something that's important to you, even if you didn't graduate from college or attend their school. Um, like I said, our HBCU is only about 100, a little over 100, 104,
100
105.
million, give or take.
But those 100 graduate more blacks than the 3,000 plus white universities. So if they were to go away, you're talking about over half the black graduates that are out there working professional jobs, getting degrees, may not have them. So that's how important it is, people. Don't just think that this is just a talking matter for us. This is something that's very important.
What that means ultimately is, and we already know this, most HBCUs, with short of some miracle, will, by design, always be behind, other institutions. They've been underfunded. The funds that they legally were entitled to, and they are literally been going to court to try to get paid back for funds that they were owed legally by the state and never got. So, I mean, it's by design that this happens.
Well, we may have to do a fish fry, Tom, like in the old days,
But a
man.
fish fry is not going to make up that kind of gap, bro. You know that. I'm
We may
sorry.
need to do the old fashioned fish fry, man.
A
You
50
behind on your rent and couldn't pay it. People get together and do a fish fry for you, man.
a
So,
15 $20 fish fry plate is not going to make up for billions, hundreds of millions, and billions of dollars.
we got to start somewhere.
I
Anyway,
got you.
okay.
All right.
Congratulations to UNCF. What's our next story?
All right, next story, Jimmy, and I think this is one that you had your eyes on as well. The White House has released a proposal this week that actually will rework plans for an H-1B visa strategy that basically is going to increase the cost of that program uh, if supported or if approved. Basically, a move that follows the White House proclamation last Friday introducing a $100,000 fee for H-1B visas. The new process, if finalized, would give heavier weight to applications by employers who pay high wages of annual requests for the visas exceeded the statutory limit of $85,000.
Yeah, there are 85,000 visas that are approved every
Eighty-five
year.
thousand visas. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so if you're having to call for up $100,000 for each one of those, that's going to be billions of dollars going into the public coffers. So we'll see uh, these companies that say they can't find Americans to do these jobs. It's interesting. They can't find programmers, engineers. They can't find farm workers. They can't find anyone to cut your grass and make the beds up.
Oh, there's plenty of
Uh,
people to cut the grass, Jimmy. There's plenty of people to cut the grass. I'm talking,
well,
Jimmy. Let's be
we say that we have to
let's be
import
honest.
people in order to cut the grass because Americans don't want to do the work. So, what do Americans do if we can't do the high tech jobs? We can't do the low tech jobs.
These
What
are
exactly are Americans doing that we have to import so much damn labor?
it's called because as we have reported so many times on this show that heavy investments are not made into STEM, and so when you look at countries like China that have 1.4 billion dollars, they have more people in high honors and in STEM than we probably have folks graduating
They do,
college
Tom.
a year.
Between
So
them and Pakistan and India, you're looking at almost over 3 billion people between those three countries.
correct.
And they send a lot of their talent over here to America, like I said, to the tune of
That is true.
85,000 a year. But those jobs are being taken away from America. I mean, I know engineers who are doing other things besides what their degree called for because they can't find an engineering job, but yet Oracle, Apple, IBM, all the big tech companies, Motorola, are constantly hiring and bringing people in and sponsoring them on the H-1B visa. So I hope this turns it around. But on top of that, here's my advice to parents out there. Now's the time to get your kids on the ball, get the belt out. They need some extra motivation to start studying, get into the STEM subjects, math, science, and not just get into them, Tom, but excel in them because America is going to need, as we cut back on H-1B visas, we're going to need more and more engineers and programmers to go out there and do the work. So now's the time, people. Don't let your children be complacent and just ride it through with mediocre grades. Now's the time to push them to fill these areas because if not, guess what? I guarantee you the next administration, if it happens to be a Democrat, that $100,000 fee is going to get reduced down to $1 or may just go away, period, and we'll go back to the old system. So let's encourage the government to not do away with this $100,000 fee by showing them that there are American kids out there coming out of school that can take these jobs and they'll fill a void. And we're ready for the challenge.
Jimmy, there's a reason why they're going overseas to India, which is representing 70% of these H-1B visas, and China, close to 12% of these H-1B visas, is because they are, when you talk about the NVIDIAs, when you talk about the IBMs and the Oracles, they are looking for the best and brightest talent.
They are, Tom.
That is not to say that they don't have that talent here, but when you look at the portfolio of talent that they have in other areas, and when you look at the focus in technology, obviously they're looking for the best and brightest because they're competing on a global stage, and so they want
Right.
to get folks who can get the job done.
So my challenge and my call is for us to now to take it serious and fill that void, that gap that's going to be existing, that's going to be created.
That's going to take a generation. I mean, when you look at how far behind the United States is in the STEM areas, in particular, Jimmy, that's going to take a generation to happen. These folks are competing quarter to quarter right
You have
now.
to start somewhere, Tom. And the more talent that we produce internally, the more pressure there'll be on these companies not to sponsor kids from China, India, and Pakistan and other countries. So, but we have to start somewhere. We just can't say we're behind, so let's not do anything because that's not going to work. Because we know when it comes to money, these companies are not going to just cough over $8 billion to the government. Now when they have lobbyists in Washington, we're going to fight this. And
And
if
the
they really
question,
cannot find American kids to do this work, they're going to use every lobbying dollar they have to get this rule and this law changed. So before that happens, let's show them that American kids can step up. So I'm just calling on American kids, American families. If you're in college now, if you're if you're majoring in um, midget social working from Middle Eastern countries, now may be the time to change your major to computer science or electrical engineering or some form of engineering that's in demand.
if you're going to do that, Jimmy, and if kids are going to be prepared, you don't prepare when you're about to go to college. You have to prepare from the time these children are in elementary school, giving them stronger investment in science and in math and in other technical skills. And let's be very clear, we already understand it. We talked about this last week. Even though you think that we are spending enough money in the applied maths and the sciences, clearly the United States hasn't been doing that for years because they cannot compete with India. They cannot compete with China. And as a result,
Tom,
we
we
better
spend more money on education
otherwise
than
don't you,
any other country. How
Jimmy?
do we outspend every nation in the world and we're ranked like 50th among developed countries? Developed countries, not even third world countries, developed countries. I didn't know we had 50 developed countries, so we're somewhere at the bottom of the list, Tom, and that's just being kind. How do we spend so much money on education and people like you continue to say we need to spend more money? It doesn't make a good,
What is your solution,
as an
Jimmy?
investor,
Just encouraging your kids to go into a technical field that they're not prepared for is not going to
Tom,
be
that's what the belt is for. To help add that added motivation to help get a child prepared.
the belt is not going to keep a kid in
You know what, Tom?
the belt.
Until you've experienced the belt and had that added motivation added to you, you don't know that because you didn't grow up with the belt in that fashion.
I did grow
You,
up with the
your
belt,
parents pretty
but a
much
belt is
motivated
not going.
you
Jimmy,
early on
you
for
have
academic success. But
Jimmy.
if you were not very good in school, I guarantee you could start with a ninth grader right now, enter in high school with a mediocre student, and add some added level of motivation to them, and you can turn that whole situation around to graduate with honors by the time you get out of school. And it doesn't take a whole lot, but you have to be willing to stick to it and have the fortitude to make sure that you stick with the plan. And if you do that, I guarantee you, Tom, it doesn't take elementary school and a ton more money to get this done. It takes going down to Walmart and buying a good leather belt for about $10 and willing to use it.
Jimmy, there was a video that you brought on this show some
Okay?
time ago talking about how they built the psychology of children in China from the time that they were little kids in terms of
Yes.
working together. And the reality of it is, Jimmy, our kids are not going to be able to
And
compete with
guess
the
what,
other
Tom?
kids.
If
But
we start today,
I'm telling you, there will be some kids who can compete at that level. But
no,
if you
if
have
you
an
start
understanding
today with the older
motivation,
kids in high school, ninth grade, you start today, Tom, and here's what's going to happen. Uh, your younger sibling that's in junior high or elementary is going to see what the program is. And they're going to get with the program because they don't want to have a date with destiny with that belt. And so it won't take as
how
long as
are
you
you going
think,
to
and you'll
convince
have
those?
future generation of kids coming up. See, the Asian kids come up in that system. They already know what they're supposed to do from a very young age, including eating well, which is why the Japanese people are the healthiest in the world. You can't even sell snacks there and potato chips. Sugar companies go out of business in Japan because kids eat vegetables. They do it from a young age. If you start right now with the bell time, I'm guaranteed you start with the ninth graders and just go forward with them. And any siblings they have that are younger are going to look at it and see what happens. It's only going to take two or three beat downs. Once you see your older sibling and what they're going through, I guarantee you the rest of them are going to get in line.
How are you
And
going
so we'll have this whipped out in less than a generation.
how are you going to convince those parents to use the belt to that?
I don't know, Tom. That's a hard thing because parents want to
Okay,
be friends with their kids rather than being parents. We
and
need
I
to get
think
back to the days when we're willing to be parents and stop trying to be friends with our kids. But anyway, Tom,
that is
we
my
got
point. If you
we're,
cannot convince the parents to use that belt And this is a result of our generation of parents not using the belt and
Okay, well,
or
Tom, then I don't want to hear that the government is not trying to give you a fighting chance and your kids a fighting chance. What more can the government do to coerce private industry to hire American kids? If you don't want to do your part by motivating your child for excellence and success to complete globally, there's nothing the government can do. Pour more money. You're an investor. You don't pour good money out bad investment. You don't look at your portfolio and say, oh, this stock is underperforming or this property is underperforming. Let me just pour more money into it and maybe I can get this thing to turn around.
I didn't say pour more money into it. I said smart money. It is easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men. What I'm trying to say is if you start earlier, you are going to amplify your chances of getting the result that you're seeking. I'm not trying to say that you can't take a kid at ninth or 10th grade and build that person into a powerhouse. What I'm saying is it is easier to invest and develop in kids when they are in the third and fourth grade. And we know what the state of affairs are in most of the schools in our neighborhoods. They are nowhere prepared for that. And by the time they get to junior high, I've seen some of it because I've taught, they are they are completely zoned out when it comes to anything technical.
Yeah, that's why we need dads in the house with a belt. And if you don't have one, ladies, reach out to me and I'll see if I can rent you one. You need someone to come in and swing the belt for you because you can't do it, then fine. Rent a dad. He'll come over once a week, twice a week, however you need to make sure that things get taken care of. Um, so anyway, tell me what's our next story.
All right, Jimmy, let's go to another story that I found quite interesting, kind of what I would consider to be a teachable moment. A young man, only 11 years old, was expelled from school in Michigan. His mother is seeking justice for the young man, her 11-year-old son, who was expelled after he took a gun away from a classmate to disassemble it, not use it. Savitra McClurkin, the mother here, said her son was expelled from the White Rich School of Arts in May after school officials learned he had handled a firearm brought to campus by another student. McClurkin said her son had a gun and used his knowledge from, from hunting to disarm and disassemble the weapon. The 11-year-old discarded the bullets to keep his student peers safe. He didn't want to implicate himself in it, nor did he want to tell the person who actually brought the firearm because he knows firearms aren't supposed to be in school. So he just disassembled the gun and dealt away with the bullets. Officials initially discovered the disassembled unloaded gun weapon at the school. A 12-year-old boy whose identity hasn't been made public due to his age was arrested, but Ms. McClurkin said her son was doing the right thing to protect his classmates. However, unfortunately, the administrators learned of his involvement, disassembling the gun and making sure his peers were safe, and then expelled him for 1 year for possessing the weapon on school grounds. The 11-year-old is now enrolled in a non-accredited online program as traditional online schools have honored the expulsion decision. You know, this is a very interesting story and I think a teachable moment. Jimmy, in this story, I just saw this story probably a day or so ago, but it seems like a young man who was doing the right thing got kind of punished for this, and the administrators probably had some flexibility to do something about this, but I guess they wanted to send a message. You know, the one thing I guess the young man did not do, and he's an 11-year-old young man, is tell the teacher what happened, but I guess he was trying to, you know, possibly not snitch, as these young people say, snitches get stitches.
Right.
And
And
s-
that was probably his biggest mistake, Tom. And on top of that, sometimes you can do the right thing and end up with the wrong result.
yes,
We don't want to send a message that if you see someone or know someone who has a gun at school, do not attempt to take the gun from them. Do not attempt to do what this young man did because you don't know what this person's intention, especially if it's a loaded gun with bullets in it. You don't know what this person's intentions are. So the most best thing to do is alert the authorities and run. Go hide somewhere. Um, hell, if I knew someone was at school with a loaded gun, I'm just leaving. I'm just gonna walk out the door. If I have a cell phone, I can stop by the office and say, "Hey, such and such got a loaded gun." Um, when it's all clear, I'll come back. But until then, we've had too many school shootings. Um,
I'd
uh,
agree.
so do not attempt to take disarm a person who brings a gun to school, please alert the authority, alert the teacher, the office, the principal, someone, a janitor. It doesn't matter. Some adult, and let them deal with it. That's what they're paid for. Especially if your school has an officer on the campus, let the officer whose job is to deal with these situations deal with it. So yeah, he could have gotten himself. It is good that he knew had some knowledge about guns.
Exactly, and
But
that's
what
what he
if
was
he
doing.
had mishandled the gun and maybe accidentally shot himself or shot another student by mishandling the gun because he didn't have the knowledge? So
Well,
that's the risk.
Well, the kid obviously knew what he was doing, and I think probably the average kid would not have, but obviously he went hunting with a family member of his, and so his first priority, thinking in his mind, is to try to make sure that the other people around here was safe because we have. I mean, if somebody's bringing us a gun to school, it's for a reason. It's usually not good, and so this young man was trying to make sure that his peers and his classmates were safe, and unfortunately, it turned out pretty bad for him. I can't disagree with you in saying to alert first and not do anything. But unfortunately, sometimes, as we've discovered, by the time that happens, somebody actually could have been hurt with this gun. Because if someone is bringing an illegal weapon to school, it's for a reason,
Right.
and it's usually not good.
It's not good,
So
Tom.
we certainly hope that even though I think that the administrators had some discretion, I think under certain circumstances, this young man probably would have been considered a hero, but obviously they chose not to make that decision for this young man.
Well, if this young man was going to do something bad with the gun, Tom, then yeah, this young man is a hero. I just want to
I
encourage.
don't think anybody would be bringing a gun to school to do something good.
So I just want to encourage anyone else to do it. And then there's no way you can write a provision in that it's okay to do this if you have some knowledge about guns. So do the right thing, alert the authorities and those in charge who's responsible, who has the responsibility to deal with these situations.
Well,
So
we know.
Tom,
Yes.
it's halfway. We're at the bottom, halfway through the hour, and then I promise that I'm gonna, I'm gonna
I know
invoke.
you want to show your video,
I'm gonna
so
show my video, Tom.
you can go ahead and show your video because we do have some other stories to get to. So since we're halfway
We're
through,
gonna do it real quick, Tom, so we can
we'll
get
do it
it
quick.
past and
We
move
do
on
have
to
some
other
other stories to
stories.
get to. All
Um,
right.
but because we don't hate on this show, we participate. Um, this video, you may want to cover your eyes and cover your ears if you have sensitive eyes and sensitive ears. But somebody, a co-host, who's gonna go, I'm gonna leave nameless, basically said these events did not happen on January 6th. That people did not line up orderly. They were not escorted through the Capitol. Um, that basically this was a riot, like a BLM riot or an Antifa riot, where people were killed, property was destroyed, police cars turned over and burned, all kind of looting taking place. Um, but anyway, I want to show a quick video time and then get your thoughts. Like I said, I'm not going to name any names.
It
This
was
person, this co-host is going to go nameless, but here's what you basically said didn't happen.
all right.
These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim. And that's exactly why the Democratic Party and its allies in the media prevented you from seeing it. By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference. Those lies had a purpose. They created a pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Our office wanted to ensure that there was shock and awe, that we could charge as many people as possible.
The first thing you notice from viewing the full video record of January 6th is just how many people entered the Capitol building that day. Hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly thousands, over the course of about 2 hours. The crowd was enormous. A small percentage of them were hooligans. They committed vandalism. You've seen their pictures again and again. But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful, they were orderly and meek. These were not insurrectionists, they were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. They take cheerful selfies and they smile. They're not destroying the Capitol, they obviously revere the Capitol. They're there because they believe the election was stolen from them. They believe in the system. Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon shaman outside the Senate chamber. These are not rioters. These are people who wandered over from a political rally.
We will not let them silence your voices.
After the rally, they walked down Pennsylvania Avenue, where organizers had secured a federal permit to hold a legal rally on the grounds of the Capitol.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Once at the Capitol building, things began to get chaotic. Capitol police officers fired tear gas into the crowd. A few at the front of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the doors, and many hundreds of others just walked in.
We're going to make that the story.
Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon shaman.
The so-called QAnon shaman. QAnon shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became the face of January 6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down. Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers to allow us in this building.
Contrast the reality of what Jacob
Anyway, Tom, that's the video. How do we get back to?
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. All right, so I got to learn with the control. So as you can see, Tom, if you're a CNN or MSNBC viewer, you probably never ever saw that video of what happened on the inside. You only saw what happened right outside as they were breaking in. That was just a handful of people. So it's best to get your news coverage from both sides so you can form an intelligent decision. So you don't have people like me having to be forced, because I have a 99.9996% accuracy rate. But I hate putting that to the test because I'm so very, very seldomly wrong. I tell about once or twice a year. It's not a good thing to refute any statement that I make. I'm just putting it out there in the universe so people would know. Anyway, what say you, and then we can go on with the rest of our news coverage.
What say I? It was very interesting. I'm not surprised that they walked him through it once in there. Of course, they, of the right side, we understand that, there were plans on the inside on the law enforcement side as well. And the reality of it is, they get privileges that some folks don't. I mean, if there were some other folks, if that was you, we probably would have been escorted out a lot more quickly, Jimmy. But that's just the way things go. I do remember seeing even in that video that even though it may have been 10% of the folks there, that they still broke into the place, broke into.
They did. It was trespassing. That was true. Trespassing. Last time I checked, was
trespassing. I think I saw somebody literally kicking in the doors. Why would they have?
Those people.
Why would they have to kick? Why would they have to kick down the doors if they were just unlocked and let into them? Why did they have to break through the windows if they were just being unlocked?
Committed violence, Tom. throw the book at them. No problem whatsoever. I'm not gonna argue with you on that one.
I
But
mean,
for the most part, the rest of those people, 99% of them, they're just walking through there orderly, not tearing up anything. In fact, one guy who picked up the coat rack that was on the floor. They're not looting, they're not burning anything, they're not setting fires,
well, well,
and they didn't attack
God bless the
anybody.
people. God bless the people. But for the folks who were the ringleaders and who tore up the place, broke down the doors, tore through the windows to get everybody in, they say a
Tom,
couple
you
of
saw the ringleader, the QAnon Sharman. He
oh,
was
just
the
we
ringleader.
well, we just blamed it on all that on just one guy,
No, I'm just saying he was the ringleader that they anointed and
and
got
he was
four.
the only. So that one dude did all that damage. Just that
What
one dude.
damage, Tom? There was only to the front door and to a window. That's the only damage we're
Oh,
talking about.
okay.
We're
So
not
then,
talking about a
so
BLM where
why did they
you
have to
burn down buildings
why did they have to climb all over the building to get in, Jimmy?
because they were trespassing, Tom.
If they were
The door
being
was barred.
if they were being let in the door unlocked, why did they have to
Oh, once they
climb all?
got in the building, Tom, I don't know if you paid attention or
Oh, I
not.
did. I
The
did.
cops, the cops that were there were escorting them. They were lined up, taking pictures, taking selfies, and the cops
They told
opened
them,
the
oh, you
doors
don't.
for them.
So they told
Nobody
them, oh,
tried to arrest them or stop them at that
so
point.
what you're saying is you don't have to climb over the Capitol to get in. We'll unlock the door for you. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying once you're in the building, they made no attempts whatsoever to stop anybody.
Once they were in the building, but they had to
Once they were
climb
in
on
the
the
building.
building and break down doors and break down windows to get in until they got in.
And so for those people that kicked the door in and broke the windows, throw the book at them. But for everybody else that was just trespassing orderly, give them a damn ticket and let them move on with life. Tom, a lot of these people got years in prison for trespassing.
And they were all pardoned in
And
January.
you're talking about black people not getting justice
Oh,
in court.
well, Jimmy, we already know the black people would have been shot down and never would have got that far. We already know that, Jimmy.
Okay, I don't know that. But if you're trying to set a fire and burn things down and loot and back up the pickup,
No. If there would have been that many black people trying to literally break into the Capitol, they would have been shot down. They never would even got
like
that
they
far.
break into Macy's time to get formula for the baby supposedly, and they're walking out with
Let, let,
washer and dryers and
let's
fur
say
coats.
folks in our community have been shot down for a lot less by the blue, for a lot less than that. I mean, that's sacrosanct to literally break into the Capitol. We have died for a lot less. You're on mute. You're on mute. If you can hear me, Jimmy, I cannot hear
Yeah, I
you.
can.
Okay, good deal. No, okay. All that being said, now that was very entertaining, but we still got some stories to get to.
We still got some stories.
Not in
Let's try to get to the rest of them.
All right, good deal, Jimmy. All right, one from your favorite governor, Jimmy, out of the state of Texas. Your friend Greg Abbott has just signed a bill that has become law, obviously impacting the transgender community. Greg Abbott just signed a bill that would restrict which restrooms transgender people can use in government buildings and schools with fines up to $125,000 for violations. Senate Bill 8, going to effect on December the 8th, restricts bathroom use in government-owned buildings, public schools, and universities based upon sex assigned at birth, and does not allow exceptions for transgender inmates housed in prisons and jails. It also bars those assigned male at birth from accessing women's domestic violence shelters unless they are under 17 and the child of a woman also receiving services. At the last minute amendment from a representative out of Conroe raised the fines to $25,000 against institutions where violations occur and $125,000 for any subsequent violations, raising the penalties for SB 8 bill. The bill does not affect privately owned or funded businesses and will not create penalties against individuals.
Okay.
So I know this was one, of course, that you definitely wanted to make sure that we reported on, Jimmy, because, of course, we know you're very passionate about that as well as many conversations. As
Well, I
we
want to get caught in the crosshairs of a rifle scope for my views. So let me tread carefully here. This bill really supports mostly women, Tom. I think the majority of women polled do not want men with male body parts in their bathrooms or playing
I
in
would
their
agree with
toilets.
that. I would
So
agree with that.
if you have actually transitioned to with a sex change operation and you've gone from male to female, there may be I don't know, an exception made if you don't have male body parts. But simply identifying as a woman allows you to go into the female bathroom and shower with women. I have two daughters, Tom. I wouldn't want that imposed on them. I mean, you have cousins and family members who are women, your mother, your aunts. You wouldn't want them to be subject to that either. So I think this is a common sense law. And it's amazing that we even had to pass this law, Tom, to
And it took
restrict
a decade.
men, huh?
It took a decade for this to pass in Texas. It's actually been passed in several other states, but I think it took a decade in Texas to pass. I thought that was
But
pretty
this just goes to show the power of the alphabet community with getting their way and imposing their will on society in such a short term. I mean, the fact that we even have to have this conversation and pass a law to deal with this, where 20, 30, 40 years ago, wouldn't even be a second thought. It's like, okay, if you're a male, you go to the male bathroom. I don't care how you dress, how you identify. If you're a female or a woman, you go to the female bathroom. And some companies have experimented with a unisex bathroom with a male and female, and that's fine if you want to, be like Ally McBeal. I think their law firm had a unisex. If that's the route that you want to go, fine. But otherwise, we have male and female bathrooms for a reason, and obviously because as a male, I wouldn't care if there's a woman in the male bathroom. To be totally honest, most men wouldn't care. I mean, you go in the sports locker rooms, you have professional athletes come out the shower with no towel on, butt naked, getting dressed in front of their locker. You have female reporters there asking them questions, and they're just standing there with at most a towel around them, giving interviews. But for women, you don't see the WNBA women walking out of the shower and male reporters just standing there trying to interview them where they have nothing on or they're
well. They
naked.
probably prefer other women looking at them, number one, but that's another story. So
Okay, so I'm glad Texas did the right thing here, and hopefully this will make it put a lot of women at ease, knowing that they have some privacy protection provided for them by the state of Texas.
let's talk very briefly, and we may have to go into this a little bit more next week, but it is almost the end of September. We're blinking into October, and we do have elections and things on the ballot coming up in November. It's not just when there's a presidential election, and it's not just wait until next year when we have midterm elections, but there are a lot of other options out there that we need to be aware of that really impact our day to day. Really, it's your
Actually,
local
Tom, hit the list before that.
What's that?
Hit the one before that.
Okay. All right. I will do that for you, Jim.
Okay.
So we have 70, and we're talking the state of Texas. So for those outside of the state of Texas, you'll probably need to look at your thing. But we have 17 constitutional amendments in the state of Texas alone that folks have an opportunity to vote for that will impact their day-to-day lives. And these are statewide. These are not local. These are not, municipal or county elections, but these are statewide amendments, having to do with taxes that impact both homeowners, businesses, elderly people, disabled, those who had spouses who are veterans, in addition to other issues on taxes related to personal and or business capital gains and inheritance tax as well. The reality of it is, Jimmy, that unfortunately most of us, and we can talk about this a little bit more next week, given the amount of time, we're about 10 minutes until, and I'd like to break down some of these amendments because some of these are pretty important, Jimmy, and we don't have to, give our deep opinion on it. But for instance, we have a proposition on capital gains tax gains in the state of Texas. I mean, usually that's a federal thing, but basically what the state of Texas is saying is banning taxes on the profits, realized or unrealized, from stocks, real estate, and or personal property, eliminating franchise tax on business trusts. There is an amendment that would boost the homestead exemption. This is extremely important that people need to go vote on. This basically is a slice of the home's value that cannot be taxed, that is increasing or is proposed to increase from $100,000 to $140,000. So this will be a 40% increase in the value of your home that will not be taxed by the state, because the biggest tax that we pay is the state property taxes. This is another one that I know that you probably have an opinion on. Parents, this is basically being codified in the state constitution that parents are the primary decision makers for their children, not the children themselves, including parental rights that are currently outlined as in federal case law, and clarifying citizenship requirements for voters. I know this is something that a lot of people are passionate about as well. Persons who are not citizens in the United States cannot vote, preventing local governments from allowing local residents who are not citizens to vote in their local elections. And so there are some very important things that we do need to address. There are going to probably be some local and municipal elections for some of you, but not for all of us. So you need to check with your local government site. But Jimmy, this is important. It affects us probably more so in some cases than when we're voting for some of the folks who represent us.
Tom, all of these are cutting taxes on feed for farmers, capital gain tax, cutting your homeowner exemption tax. Notice a theme here, Tom. All of these things are to promote responsibility and to reduce the cost that you have to pay to the federal government and to the state government. If it wasn't Greg Abbott, what was that lady's name who was governor years ago? Ann Richards?
Ann Richards.
Last Democrat governor we've had. She raised taxes on tire disposal, that $2, $4 fee you pay for tire disposal. That was Ann Richards. The money that you pay to dispose of all, which I think stores now just pick up, but it used to be an all disposal fee. Tom, there was no end how many fees she imposed on Texans during her reign, which I'm glad she's gone. But anytime you get governance that's trying to cut your taxes, save you money, make your life simpler, keep more of the money in your pocket, this is something we need to get behind and support. Stop thinking that Republicans are your enemy simply because the left loony liberals out there tell you so. Vote your pocketbook is the most important thing. If life is becoming easier for you, more money is in your pocket, those are the people that are supporting you. I don't care if it's a Ku Klux Klan making these decisions to put it in effect. If that's the case, I would go out and vote for a Klansman. If you're making life easier for everyone else in Texas. So we need to vote our interest, Tom, and our pocketbook is our interest. So sometimes it's good to put personal politics aside and start thinking more for yourself and your fellow Texans.
Well, I can definitely understand the spirit of what you're saying in voting your pocketbooks, but if you're voting for someone who might advocate for someone that might be hanging you from a tree, you might have to think twice about that one.
Tom, nobody's advocating for hanging anybody from a tree.
Well, we did just talk last week about that young man who was purportedly self-suicide. We have a lot of very peculiar hangings outside of Pickup.
Yeah, I agree.
In places like that.
If you get any more hangings, I think there were 2. If you get any more, I'm telling you, this is a serial truck driver.
Well, see, when they happen to our community, they just don't go viral. They're not on headline news.
Well, that's why we're mentioning it here.
Exactly.
This would be the act of a serial killer who's a truck driver who can move around easily. And that's the pattern. They normally have the same type killings in multiple cities as they move around, which makes it very difficult for them to catch.
All right, let's go out to our next story, and then we'll.
What's our next story?
Next story is recently the House has passed a bill to lower the age at which teens in Washington, D.C. specifically could be charged as adult, but the city's top elected officials, including the Attorney General of the District of Columbia, is opposing the measure. Basically, as of mid-September, the House has advanced legislation that would allow 14-year-olds in D.C. to be charged as adults for certain serious crimes such as murder and armed robbery.
Yes, Janine, what was the judge? He was a former judge and a contributor on Fox. But she's the Attorney General for the city of D.C. And I think she has a capital murder case involving a teen that she said she's going to prosecute as an adult. And I didn't know they were trying to lower the age down to 14. But once again, Tom, now it's time to get that leather belt out. Your kids just can't run around committing serious crime just because they're teens and get a slap on the wrist. Your children now going to be facing not just hard time like an adult, but I guarantee you, a teenager in a prison with a bunch of men.
That is not a good thing.
It's not a good thing, Tom. You're talking about a lifetime of being raped and abused is what you're setting your child up for. So if you don't have the discipline, the fortitude to pull that belt out and keep your kids on the straight and narrow, like I said, give me a call. I'll find some dads who will go in and do it. You could just pay them a fee. Some of them would actually do it for free, Tom. Um, but we'll put a limit on there that the beat down doesn't last more than 90 seconds.
So Jimmy, I mean, is there a limit to the age to which you would charge a child as an adult? I mean, 14, 13, 12, I mean, what, 4 years old?
What was that crime show with um, in the theme song? He said, "You can't do the time, don't do the crime."
These are kids, young
These
people.
are kids, Tom, being influenced by older
Oh,
kids
I would
and
agree.
adults who are
I would-
telling them that this is how you become a man by going out there and getting a teardrop and shooting somebody.
I
That
agree.
is just bad, obviously bad advice. And when outside people have more influence over your child than you do inside the home, there's a problem, Tom. And I guarantee you that if I was to go in and inspect these homes, you will not find one leather belt being used for the right reason in these homes. That's part of the problem. We've
Well,
gotten
you
away
know,
from disciplining
Jimmy,
our kids.
the spirit of what you're saying, I would agree with, but some of these kids, the belt don't particularly work. There are some kids where the belt don't work. And when
What
you
was
have and when you have a kid who is 14 years old, 15 years old, they are obviously possible of doing some very egregious crimes. But you know, when you put them in a prison with hardened criminals, I don't think there's any rehabilitation of that when you put a kid in a prison with hardened criminals as opposed to a rehabilitation center.
Well, Tom, the quote from Grandmaster Flash in the message, what was the little passage? Use and abuse to serve like hell, and one day he was found hung dead
I'm
in a
dead in a
cell.
cell.
So this is what your child is facing because there's nothing pleasant about a young boy who hasn't fully developed into a man. Trying even from some men are going to get abused and raped in prison. So, but a teenage boy, this is definitely going to be a hell for this person.
Well, he
So
won't be, unfortunately, Jimmy, and I hate to say it like this, but he won't be a boy for very long.
no, he won't. So either you deal with the problem at home, however you have to, or you force the system to deal with it because your child has undue influence from his friends and gang members out there that he looks up to. So there has to be a paradigm shift, Tom. We have to stop making excuses. We have to start doing things differently. I'm not saying the leather belt is going to work all the time. Who knows? It may not work at all. But it's worth giving it a try. It's better than doing nothing and letting our kids fall by the wayside. I personally think the belt will work. If you catch them early enough,
Gotcha. You know what? I have a couple of, and I am remiss. I want to make sure that I give our folks on the chat line some love. Want to
give them some love.
apologize. We got KJ out of the Kevin Johnson out of the DC metro area on the line. I want to thank him for joining us. We got Miss Carol Wilson on the line, cousin Audrey on the line, Miss Tanya on the line. Let's see who else do we have. Ken Manus, what's going on, Frat? Thank you for joining us as well. Let me see who else we got on here. We have a couple of. Let me go ahead and show them a little love. Let me see here. Miss Carol U.S. is behind Asian kids eat and sleep technology. Yes, they do. Let me see. KJ has nothing to do with mental aptitude. Must change our approach, but not by beating our kids.
KJ, we were almost here, man. You got the last part
And
there.
he is military. He has military background. Miss Tanya, I'd agree that there is a place in the home for disobedient children. However, it's only a small part of talking and having face-to-face conversation and encouraging and monitoring our children nowadays, taking their cell phone because they are super addicted to cell phones, which is true. Parents is the new
Cell
belt.
phones and sugar,
Take
Tom.
the cell phone away. You know, yeah. Well, I hope this kid's parents has a good attorney, and she's probably talking about the kid who was expelled from school. Let's see that. What else we've got? B. Hay Villa 8096. Verbing with your stream gang got friend. Okay, I don't know what the heck he's talking about. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what they're saying. Well, was this lady that the agent shot and killed that was breaking down the door of the Senate chamber? That was in reference to the video.
The only person that died on January 6th, Tom.
Kayla, what else do we have? Audrey, I would feel more safe as a woman. It's common, just a common sense no-brainer. This is talking about the bathroom bill for transgen. Ms. Carroll, wondering if you would feel the same way if an unarmed black person got shot and killed because they did not obey the commands of law enforcement. That happens all the time. And then lastly, I do believe she would have been shot if she was a black woman without a warning as well. So, all that being said, we want to thank everyone who joined us for this evening's show. We didn't quite get a chance. I'm just about run out of time, Jimmy, to talk about sports. Let's just say the Cowboys got slapped this past weekend.
Tom, once again, I fell for the okie doke. I had high hopes coming into the
I tried
season.
to tell you, Jimmy. I tried
Man,
to tell you.
and I just I feel like they pulled the wool over my head.
Yeah, but not
And I
in the
promised
Cowboys.
that I wouldn't let this happen again. I wasn't going to get excited about the Cowboys because they actually did something worth getting excited about. Um, and I let my guard down, man, and they go into Chicago and they just lay an egg, man.
Jimmy, check this out. Russell Wilson is 0-9, but he still looked like all-pro against the Cowboys.
450 yards,
Caleb
Tom.
Williams, who people were thinking, is this dude is a bust, looked like all-pro. He looked like the next Jaden Daniels against the Cowboys.
Tom, I think you uploaded a scene where I think it was Diggs getting burned or toast. Let me see if I
This
can
is
pull it
him
up.
right here.
Right here. Tom, okay, you played what, cornerback and safety in
Yes.
school? Let's get back to God, boy, how do I get back to the regular image, our regular video? Okay, there we are. You played safety, cornerback in school.
Don't
If
let him get
you
behind you.
if you close enough where you can reach somebody from behind, that's fairly decent coverage, although it's not great. If you're side by side with them, contending for the ball, then that's pretty good coverage. But Tom, he was about 5 yards from the receiver. You damn near not even in the picture anymore. While he's catching the ball, another yard or two, you would have been out of the picture altogether. For the NFL, Tom, when you have nothing but these all-pro, all-Americans getting paid, and Diggs got a pretty hefty contract from the Cowboys, and this is what we get for a hefty contract. You
Jimmy,
get toasted every play.
this is what you get for hiring Matt Eberflus as your defensive coordinator. There's a reason he got fired from the Chicago Bears as the head coach.
And Tom, when a team is fourth down, I think 4 yards or 6 yards, with a game on the line, and they just decide to just heave it into the end zone just for grin, see what had happened. We've scored and got pretty good yards on this before. Why not just do it again for the 10th time? And bam, touchdown with less than 40 seconds left in the game. Who in the world gives up? I mean, we have something called a prevent defense for a reason. We'll give up everything underneath, but we're going to keep you out of the end zone until you march downfield and hopefully run out of the clock. The Cowboys play just the opposite. With the clock running out, they let receivers get past them. If you chase the receiver, Tom, game over.
Jimmy, and I know you're a statistician extraordinaire, and I know you probably know how many points the Cowboys averaged last year. But if you score 14 points, you're not going to beat too many teams in the NFL.
You're not, Tom. They need to be in the mid-20s. With other good teams, anywhere from 25 to 30 is a good scoring average. That's what good teams do. But yeah, scoring 14. But also, Tom, they kicked 2 field goals early on that they probably should have scored on if they executed better. So that was 14 points. There's your 20-some points right there on those 2 field goals you missed. But sometimes the drawback of having a really good kicker in Arbery can be that you rely too much on the field goal kicker instead of being really your back against the wall to score points.
How long is CeeDee Lamb out with the ankle injury?
Tom, he's going to be out another 2 weeks at least. They're going to play it safe. And he tried to come back, and that didn't work out. He tried to come back later on in the game. I'm sure they can shoot his ankle up with drugs so he don't feel it, but I'm glad they're keeping him out to heal it up properly before they let him come back. 20 years ago, they would have gave him some shots and injections, and he would have been right back on that field. There's no telling how much damage you could have easily done to his ankle.
Well, we will find out if George Pickens is truly a number 1 now.
Well, he's definitely a 1B, Tom, because he had to carry the team there for a while when CD went out. So some of these other guys have to step up now. The Tolberts and the what's the speedy guy we got from TCU? Um,
Oh yeah, Turban.
Turbin, a kick return, the punt return. These guys got to step up now and make up for the 100+ yards that we're not going to get out of CeeDee Lamb now.
But is there enough stepping up for like arguably one of the worst defenses in the NFL?
No, Tom, because the technique is really bad. You don't let, and it's not like they're putting a double move on you. The quarterback is pumping the ball and you biting on what you think is going to be a short route. No, Tom, these are receivers that are just blowing by you. You're already 10 or 15 yards back, and safety is 20 yards back. How in the hell you let a receiver get past you when you already got a 20-yard head start on him? He just runs a straight post route. No moves whatsoever. No shuck and jive. No make it look like it's going to be out pattern, and he turns the route up. No, he just straight to the end zone. Bam, a wide open touchdown. I mean, this is just poor technique. I don't know what defensive coordinator
This is
back.
a coaching issue.
It is a coaching issue,
To
Tom.
get
That's
this
why I would have
bad,
fired the
to get
defensive
this
coordinator
bad
on the
this
spot.
fast.
I would have fired him and the secondary coach. They wouldn't even roll back on the plane. I would have said, hey, you better call Southwest Airlines and get your own plane ticket back to Dallas and clean your locker out, your office out, because we could have gotten this without a coach. Hey, we
Jimmy,
don't need a defensive coordinator to do this.
if this, if they were losing like this to the Detroit Lions, if they were losing, like this to the Buffalo Bills, maybe but to the Chicago Bears,
Chicago, a win in
and they
Chicago.
barely beat the Giants, and that's why when we were talking about them beating the Giants last week, I wasn't impressed. Barely beat the Giants and got spanked by the Chicago Bears. Nobody's confusing the Bears with anyone with any potential to go deep into the playoffs, and they
Okay,
got.
so you can mark this on your calendar, Tom. This is probably one of the rare times this year, September 24th, 2025. Where I'm going to say you're right and I was wrong. So mark it on your calendar.
All right, I'm marking on my calendar. We got a game this weekend. It's the primetime game. The Cowboys are playing the Green Bay Packers this Sunday at 7:20 p.m. Mark it on your calendars. It's going to be epic. And Micah is coming back to the Cowboys AT&T Stadium, so it'll be a barn burner. Any comments on the Monday night game? Was that a Monday night game? The Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens.
I did not watch it, Tom. I think I fell asleep on it, but it should
Detroit,
be.
a horrible game one, but they looking real good. They ran up and down the field on
Was it Baltimore?
No, the Detroit Lions ran up and down the field,
Really?
120 something yards on the
There were big
Baltimore
questions
Ravens.
as to whether they're going to be back this year or
Oh,
not.
they back. They're back.
Okay.
They had a horrible game one, but it looks like they are back, man, and are raring to go. And people are already starting to say, "Hey, might
That's the
they
problem
be
because Baltimore normally has a pretty good defense.
They do, but
Seems to get run over like that.
they got ran over by the Bills and they got ran over by the Detroit Lions.
And once again, Tom, that's what it's going to take to get through the playoff, a good running game and a good defense that can stop the run. The pass game can get you quick points and quick yards, but if you're a pass-happy team, you can see that after 40 and 50 yards, 3-4 touchdowns, you can still lose from the passing game. But if you can run heavy and control the clock and time possession and score off the running game, yeah, you can go a long way these days.
And that is exactly what Detroit did. They ran about 40, I think 38 times. They passed about 19 times, and it was about the opposite with Baltimore. So when you can run effectively, I
Yeah.
think you're running up almost 40 times in a game, and then you're averaging about 4-point-something yards a carry, then you're doing something right.
Because they're only
Short of
65
having
carries
45
per
turnovers.
game.
And on top of that, Jimmy, Lamar Jackson got sacked 7 times.
Ouch!
7 times.
Did,
Lamar
did he
Jackson.
not move or something? Was he?
He was moving. It was a brilliant defensive. They on the most part contained him, and they had no run game. Unfortunately, Derrick Henry fumbled the ball again. So I think that's 3 fumbles in 3 games, and so they had very little run game. I think the Ravens only ran the ball about 19 times. So I mean that really defense and run game is Baltimore's game, and that's exactly what Detroit was doing to Baltimore.
Well, one of the things I can give Detroit's coaching staff credit for,
Yep.
they seem to be pretty smart in preparing their team to get ready to play. It sounds like they've picked it back up from last year.
Yep. After losing their offensive and defensive coordinator to head coaching jobs.
Well, they didn't lose them to us. I don't know why we weren't in line to hire one of them, especially on defense.
Because who's doing the hiring, Jimmy?
So right now, man, I would even go to Ohio State and see if we could rustle their defensive coordinator away from them by making him a defensive coach.
All right, Jimmy. Well, it's about 10 minutes after the hour, so I think we have done our due diligence.
I don't think the folks mind out there if we go a little bit long.
Plus some sports. So we didn't get it done in an hour, Jimmy.
Anyway, make sure time we put on the docket to talk about the other the proposition for Texas, to go into a few of them in more detail. I know we
Okay,
kind
that's
of
fine. We just kind of ran out of time, but we can definitely talk about it next
we'll
week.
put them at the top of the list next week.
All right,
That being
folks.
said, Tom, go ahead and sign off, and we'll call it a night.
I want to thank everybody for joining this evening. Make sure you like this show if you haven't done so already. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so. And of course, share this information with somebody within your network, so you can listen to the greatest show on the internet.
The greatest. That's
Absolutely.
right.
So we want to thank you,
Not the
folks.
Breakfast Club.
And we will see you next week, because if it's Wednesday night, Jimmy,
It's Black Man Speak.
good night, everyone.